HooHooHooRobin.
Chris Cornell. How you doing, man?
How do you know it's Chris Cornell?
Because I've seen you before.
Oh.
Chris Cornell.
One of the greatest singers in rock history.
That's
right
what it
there.
is. I've always said it. I've always said that
we've been
huge, one of the best.
We've been huge fans, and that's why we're kind of disappointed. We got to at least acknowledge the fact that we got a lot of equipment set up because we thought you were playing today, and there was a miscommunication somewhere.
We were just talking about that. I don't know how the miscommunication happened, but I'll sing a little bit for you. If I could put time in a bottle, then there's one thing I'd like to do. I'd put some time in the bottle, and then I'd have time in a bottle.
All right.
Thank you.
Wow.
I came through. I totally came through.
Yeah, I don't know how people like somebody says, oh, yeah, Chris will come in and sing. And even I was like, it's kind of early.
Yeah,
for someone to sing. I know how it is to wake up and try to belt something out.
Yeah.
You know, especially with your range and vocal style, it's not really conducive to morning singing.
Not really. I mean, I've done it, but you have to wake up even a couple hours earlier and sort of kind of take a shower and sing.
Or stay up all night or something.
Well, that's sort of what I'm doing now. I played a show last night and the night before at the Beacon. So
2 sold-out shows at the Beacon.
Yeah. So I've had about an hour's sleep right now. That's why I don't really know where I am.
You're just kind of
singing Jim Croce. That's why that's happening.
I like your version better. Time in a bottle.
Just to get it out of the way, the last time we saw you, you were in Audio Slave. Mm-hmm. You were the lead man for Audio Slave. What happened? Just time to move on? Yeah.
I had a solo career happening, and that's sort of why Audio Slave was able to happen for me. It was an opportunity that came up. And really since Temple of the Dog, I've thought, and I want to keep my mind open to cool collaborative ideas, and it was that. But we did 3 albums pretty quickly, and I'm very proud of them, love the albums, and then just felt like it was time for me to move on.
Right.
And go back to my own world of kind of doing whatever I want.
I always thought you were your own person. Like, it's hard for you to just stay in a band.
Maybe I got issues. I was thinking about that, like I get a little stir crazy. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but you've been successful no matter what you've done, with Soundgarden and then the Temple of the Dog, which, by the way, I'm a huge fan of that album. Huge. I can't get enough of it. I was just jamming Say Hello to Heaven the other day, just singing along to that freaking song, and my vocals are nothing like yours.
Don't sing along.
Nothing like yours.
And
then,
what's your favorite song on it?
Say Hello to Heaven.
Say Hello to Heaven. Okay, 2, 3, go.
No way.
And you're on.
No way, man.
Yeah, I love when people. You don't understand how that is for a guy that has a range like you. When people go, hey, could you sing that song? Like if you're a singer and people go, hey, sing that Soundgarden song or sing that. You're like, no, you don't understand. It doesn't just come out like that.
Yeah.
That's where the talent part is.
Sometimes when I aim the mic toward the audience at the wrong time in certain songs and stuff doesn't come back.
It's like, it's not. Hey, Chris, man, we just can't do that. Stop it.
I realize.
What are you doing?
Yeah. If it's like everybody say yay, they're going to come up with a yay, but certain parts of songs, it might not come back the right way.
Yeah. The real high part of Say Hello to Heaven.
Yeah.
You have one of those voices that you actually think you can sing, like Journey. You actually think you can sing that good.
Well, you got to go into falsetto, so you got no power at all.
But you just think you're great.
You're singing like a little girl. Say hello to heaven. Heaven.
That's pretty good.
And knows how to sing.
You can carry a tune.
He downplays it, but Anthony knows how to sing. He really does.
Yeah. I used to have a few bands back in the old days, You got
to hear his Neil Diamond.
Fuck. I'll sing Neil all day and all night.
All day.
Don't get me started on the Neil. I heard about I read something where when you first started singing, you actually tried to figure out where your range was and really couldn't even find it. You just kept trying to go higher and higher.
Well,
you wouldn't crack.
I would sort of want to scream. There are parts of the songs that were written where it's just screaming. That's the part. There's the melody and then there's the screaming part. And to scream, I would just sort of sing above my range, and then your voice breaks up and it gets all shrill and it's white noisy. And we were working on a particular song called Heretic that the bass player wrote the lyrics for, and all he could do was scream, really. But then it was decided that I was going to now sing it. So I would scream that part, and one day I kind of went really high to get my voice to break up, and there were like a whole bunch of notes up there. And that's kind of where it started. And then I would come back a couple days later, and there wouldn't be, and so it kind of, some days I could sing the notes, some days I couldn't, and then it was sort of on-the-job training. We were a band for 3 years before we put out a record. We played a lot, and then we toured, for years before really we started selling records.
That's amazing to me.
We did. I was remembering now, because if I do 3 shows in a row, I'm kind of, that's enough.
A little shot.
I need a day off. And our Songwriting, I remember we did 18 shows in a row.
Wow. Right.
And I'm thinking, how did I do that? 18 in a row. If you can do 18 in a row, you can do 365 in a row, I figure.
Yeah, right.
I mean, after about 10...
you wake up in the morning going like, can't do it tonight, no way.
I didn't remember worrying about it too much. I feel like what I do now is much better than what I did then, because I, pay a lot more attention to it, and I want to part of it is like people saying, well, this guy's a great singer, and he was number whatever on a list of great singers, and over the years I thought, well, I got to kind of live up to that. So, I kind of try to make sure I'm in good vocal form. And I don't know, I think back then it was a little more crazy, and Soundgarden was so loud that in some ways it kind of, if I sang the best I'd ever sang in my life, I'm not sure you would have heard it.
What about, Jesus, what the hell was I just going to ask you?
Well, speaking of Soundgarden, you guys ever...
I hate when that happens.
Would you get back together?
I had a great question.
We do, too.
Yeah. Go screw yourself, Bobby.
Where are you at with Soundgarden? Would you guys ever, do a little something?
I don't think so.
You're done with them, too?
Well, it's been 10 years now, and not once have I received a call or heard of anybody wanting to get that going again. So
the fans, man, that's who wants to get back together.
Yeah, you guys had some great stuff.
Yeah, how long can time go by before it gets silly that you get together again?
I don't know. I think it's so cool to not do it.
To just not do it?
Yeah. It's a way of, especially nowadays with everyone getting back together, it's a way of being cutting edge. Soundgarden can be cutting edge by doing absolutely nothing. There's a sort of a genius in that. We don't have to get up.
Do you do?
They're really ahead of the game, man. They're ahead of everybody.
You do Soundgarden tunes, a couple of them when you play out?
Yeah, I do a lot of different songs.
Yeah.
The band I have out now is really amazing, and I'm having an incredible time with them. We're doing songs from, I think the oldest one we've done is Awful Louder Than Love. And they play great, and then kind of everything from then on. There's a lot of solo songs I did over the years from movies, and then...
You do Seasons?
Yeah, we do that.
Oh, God, I love that song.
Anything
from the single soundtrack.
Yeah, from the single soundtrack. Anything I want from Soundgarden. We know about 3 or 4 Temple of the Dog songs, and we do a couple Audioslave songs, and then for my 2 solo records, and then I do weird cover songs occasionally.
You do Billie Jean?
I do that, yeah.
I was just hearing about that. I haven't heard it yet, but I hear it's almost unrecognizable. You do
it's very different. It's like a sort of gospel-y. It's actually a heavy song lyrically about a guy who, gets involved with this woman who says, this is your kid, and it's not his kid. And it's like, all we remember really is it's a dance track, and he's walking backwards, but it looks like he's walking forward. And I ended up doing that because I had this period in the set where I do acoustic songs, and I just started getting goofy and trying to pick silly songs or songs you wouldn't expect to play and just kind of freak the audience out. And I thought, who would be really the last person anyone would ever expect me to cover? And I thought Michael Jackson. But then when I kind of unraveled that song and was reading the lyrics, and I changed the time signature and made it sort of gospel-y, it became really kind of heavy. Yeah. And then I really liked it, and that's how it ended up on the record. I just thought, it's a good thing to remind an audience occasionally that, songs and music are really pliable and malleable, and genres don't really exist like we want them to sometimes. You can, when Johnny Cash did Rusty Cage, I kind of learned a big lesson there.
Did you like it?
I loved it. And
Yeah.
I remember Rick Rubin asking me to do an arrangement of Rusty Cage so that Johnny Cash could record it, and I thought he was out of his mind. And I actually tried like an idiot, and then called him and said that, no, I can't do it. And then he didn't do it for that record. He did it for another record, and I heard it, and of course it went do 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 like every other song, and then the lyrics to Rusty Cage. Like, oh, that's how you do that.
How you do it for Johnny?
Now I get it. But people actually listened to the lyrics when he sang them, and then I would get phone messages from people saying that, and the lyrics to that song are great. And I would think, well, why didn't you say that to me 5 years ago? Because Johnny Cash wasn't singing them, is why. And we listened to him. It was like that a little bit.
Did you write most of the songs that are, known as your songs? Popular, Soundgarden and...
I wrote a lot of the singles. I think most of the songs we ever made videos for, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like the Outshine, Black Hole Sun, Fell on Black Days, Spoon Man.
Do you, when you play those now, do you think, holy crap, I can't believe I'm still playing this song?
Not really.
No?
And I'm not sure why. I think because there's been breaks in that period.
Yeah, true. You're not just out there pumping it out like that the whole time.
And there's so many songs. If you think about it, Soundgarden, especially the last couple records, we could never agree on what songs should go on a record. So we'd go in the studio and record 16 songs, and we couldn't cut it down to 10 or 12, so we would just put them all on it, because that was easier than trying to argue.
Wow.
So the last couple records were really double albums, and it's just because of the compact disc we could fit 78 minutes of music on it, and then when we put them on vinyl, they are actually double albums. So there's a lot of songs, and there's songs I've been doing songs here and there that Soundgarden wrote that we never actually even performed, I don't think.
Yeah, it's probably different for the Wang Chung guys. I think they're probably I can't believe we're still doing Everybody Wang Chung tonight, or Aha Take on Me guy.
Right. Kaja Gugu.
Are they back together? My goodness.
Yeah,
that would be a great triple bill.
Oh, hell yeah. Huh?
I remember the movie Live and Die in L.A.
Yeah.
And Wang Chung wrote the theme song to that. Called Live and Die in L.A. And the video is great because they're not actually sitting with guitars and kind of writing the song. They're all just sort of writing the music, and there's a scene where they're kind of looking at each other, and one guy writes a note on the sheet music, and then they high-five. That was just the greatest 80s rock video moment ever. That's a great note. Give me some skin.
It was so easy back then to make videos.
No kidding.
You just needed a little fire.
Yeah.
And some high-fiving over notes.
But as an artist, do you listen to any of your old songs and wish, oh God, I wish I could redo this? There's a part in it where you just...
Most of it, the music and the guitar sounds and what's going on sonically in the parts, I think are better than I remember them. Sometimes I listen to the vocal performances and that bothers me.
Really?
Not all of it, but sometimes, yeah. Sometimes it sounds like it's somebody else, or I've got some attitude going in there that has something to do with more than just singing the song. It's not who I am now. And
do you have an example of that?
I would rather do that.
Wow. A song we all know, or?
There are parts of the Louder Than Love record that bother me. I don't really know if I could say what song.
Yeah.
Something must have been going on in your head at the time.
Maybe I'm just sort of forcing it a little bit.
Really?
What I can do it, I can sing it, but it's there's something going on there where it's it's acting, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice it then, but all these years later, with the experience that I have making records and just trying to be myself with a microphone in front of me, I can hear that little bit of okay, here's a kid in there screaming his ass off, but there's something in there that's not, there's something in there that wasn't entirely me that's coming out. Maybe it's tension, I don't know.
There is something about youth that'll just make you do that, balls out. And
there was a song we wrote, I wrote actually, called Cold Bitch, that ended up being a B-side for something. and I had it. I got it on my iPod. I took it off of Tom Morello's iPod, and I hadn't heard it in years. And it starts out. It's very Zeppelin-y, and it's this big sort of cascading riff, and it sounds so great. And I'm just loving it, and thinking, God, I wrote this song. And then the vocal comes in, and it's so high. It's so embarrassing. And I think that was probably like my masterpiece that never really came to fruition because I was such an idiot. And I thought, okay, I've got this great range. I'm just going to sing way up there. And it's just silly to me. And that was probably like 1991 or something.
You would even think like that, like, oh, God, listen to me. Oh, what an ass.
It comes in, and it's just so bad.
Do you have any, stuff from way before you even started seriously playing, maybe with just, friends in a garage or a basement that you listened to, or would go like, oh, I couldn't even listen to that? Embarrassing.
I don't know if I have that.
Maybe when you were really younger, almost 80s-ish stuff, maybe.
I started out as a drummer, and there are probably some tapes of me playing drums on stuff. Not much, though.
Yeah.
But it wasn't very good, that's for sure.
No,
I do remember that.
No singing, though, with some real hokey, dopey lyrics or something like that?
No.
No, I was always a genius.
Soundgarden was my first band. I mean, there was some
Soundgarden's his first band.
No, that was my first band where I sang.
Suck.
It's true.
That's great, man.
Otherwise, it was drumming in, bad 80s bar bands. That's why Soundgarden happened, because, I ran into two other guys who kind of were having the same experience. Wow, if we're going to be in a band that we like, we have to kind of do it ourselves. And that was when I actually picked up guitar and bass and started writing the lyrics, because I thought, well, if we're gonna have good songs, we kind of have to do it. We can't wait for somebody else to show up.
Who was in the band when you were the drummer, and where are they to you?
I have no idea.
No idea.
I was in probably 10 bands from 17.
Do you know what that's
21.
like? To be like, dude, Chris Cornell was our drummer.
Yeah, they're still talking about you.
They're still
talking about you at a bar
sitting
somewhere.
there Saturday night at the bar going, dude, let me tell you, our drummer was Chris Cornell. And they're like, yeah, shut up.
Yeah, shut up.
I was the singer, man. I was the singer.
Shut up. It's your turn to get around.
Yeah.
You're the top 8 on MySpace.
Yeah. Shut up. We're up.
Yeah.
We're up. It starts time.
Yeah. I used to have a great way of quitting those bands, too, which is I would say, and very sincerely, I would say, you know what, I just don't think I really am good enough to be in your band.
Oh, that's sweet.
That's a great way to
you guys
do it.
are just a little bit behind. Because I was really young, too. Everyone was always older than me.
I'm holding you guys back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they would always look at me, thinking, I don't know, this guy's telling us. That was the only way I could do it. But really, as a drummer, I thought I had this romantic idea that if I practiced and worked at it hard enough, some amazing band would just kind of roll through Seattle and go, that guy's so great, we want him to be our drummer. And that didn't happen, at least not in Seattle. I mean, it was just never going to happen.
Yeah.
And Kim and Hiro, the co-founders of Soundgarden, I met. One was the bass player, and one was kind of the fill-in bass player for one of those bad bar bands that I was in. And I met them that way. And neither of them liked the band, and neither did I. But we ended up starting a band together because we decided, well, we're going to have to, figure out a way to be in a good band, and we're going to have to write songs. And if someone else can do it, why can't we do it? And then we spent, a couple years writing songs, and we had those initial young band kind of awkward songs that had good parts but were sort of overdone, and some of them were kind of silly, and there's probably some embarrassing stuff in there.
Were you influenced by anything at the time? Because Soundgarden is known to be one of those bands during the grunge period that was wow, this is a standout band. Because it was a complete change of music. It went from that 80s hair stuff to the stuff you guys were doing.
Yeah.
What changed that for you? How were you able to take that 80s stuff and completely get it out of your head and get into this new music? It's just so odd to me that
we were kind of in, or wanting to be initially, in what was a very healthy U.S. indie record scene at the time, which had bands like Black Flag and Bad Brains and Husker Du and Sonic Youth. And the one wrinkle that we put on it was, and maybe it's because Seattle was always sort of a guitar-based kind of place, we wanted to include 70s rock influences that we liked. You know, riff rock, old school, not necessarily like the 20-minute guitar solos and things like that, but heavy rock that we liked from the 70s, which was not really allowed. Since punk rock, that was sort of not cool. And I think that was a big part of what happened with Seattle, was just a mixture of influences. Like, we took aspects of older arena rock that were good and mixed it with more modern kind of post-punk music. And it just took a few years for people to realize, oh, wait, that's okay. There are elements of 70s rock that are great. And what happened with hair metal was they sort of, like, they would see Led Zeppelin and they would take, like, the kimono and the dove and the light show, and they would forget about, like, the fact that it was the best rhythm section in any rock band ever. They would concentrate on, okay, Robert Plant had a really high range, so they would just find a singer that could sing a high range and forget about how great the riffs were, or the melodies, or the music. That was all sort of left behind. And I think for us, we just didn't want to completely abandon music that we like, so we sort of put it in there. And we were not always loved. We were sort of hated for a while.
Really?
Yeah. I remember playing, like, Vancouver, Canada, and like ashtrays whizzing past my head.
Jesus Christ.
Because I always thought of those as good shows, though. We felt like,
of course,
if that's happening, maybe we're onto something. We know something they don't know. You know?
Yeah, I think that was it, because, like, not being in Seattle at the time and that kind of being the epicenter of what was going on, you guys were ahead of the curve. As to what, you know, was going to kind of take off in the country. You kind of saw it building there, and the rest of the country and Vancouver apparently had to kind of catch on.
Yeah. I always thought of it as, like, you know, you got this Whitesnake video with the guy whose model wife or whatever is doing splits on a variety of Jaguars, right? And it's kind of what hip-hop does sometimes, which is separating the artist from the audience, and, like, basically throwing it in your face, like, you ain't gonna be me, and you're never gonna have her. And then you see, like, Smells Like Teen Spirit, which is probably a catchier song in the pop world, and with a youthful aggression, but with three guys. One guy's like 6'9", one guy's like 5'5", and they just look like the same people that you go to high school with. And I think that was the key factor in like this tremendous cultural shift, was like, okay, we don't, you know, seeing a video of Motley Crue coming down in the helicopter was kind of cool, but this is cooler, and this is what we've been missing.
Unattainable.
Yeah,
is what that
exactly.
was, you know, that was rock and roll. And
yeah.
That, it just seemed to happen so quickly, too.
Which
like, really?
Yeah, and the fans do that. Record companies don't do that. There is no kind of marketing that can make that happen like that quickly. That was literally like a whole bunch of young rock fans that said, oh, this is what we've been wanting.
Being in that atmosphere in Seattle, were you as taken by Smells Like Teen Spirit as the rest of the country was, how that was kind of like, wow, what the hell's going on here?
I remember Ben Shepherd coming into a Soundgarden rehearsal before they had even made that record, and said, yeah, I saw Nirvana last night, and he got the name wrong. He said, they had this song, Smells Like Teenage Spirit. It's amazing. I think it's going to be a huge hit.
Hey,
which is weird hearing him even say that. Yeah. And that was probably like 8 months before it was recorded. But it was like that, you know, they would play in front of 100 people, and that was around the time when that talk started happening, like, you know, it's not just an indie scene, this is something that can be like new rock and roll for the masses kind of thing.
And then you got the pissed off fans that were there from the beginning going, sell out, man. Always. What are you doing, man? Sorry. Yeah. People like us. What can we do?
Yeah, you liked us, but the other people aren't allowed to?
Yeah.
Right. Is that how it works?
Because everybody kind of wants to think they're a little cooler than everybody else. So if other people start liking you, it's like, wait, I thought I was too cool.
Yeah, exactly.
And no one's that cool to like these guys.
Exactly. It happens.
Yeah. We got to get Chris out of here so he could sleep.
Yeah, go to sleep, Chris.
It's Chris Cornell. The solo CD is Carry On. It's I tracked through it last night. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Very, very, very cool.
Even though you didn't play, we love having you in. You're a great conversation, man.
Thank you.
Really cool to
Next
talk
time
to
I'll
you.
play, I'll get some other Jim Croce kind of.
Yeah, do that.
What is the Don't Mess Around with Slim or
Yeah, don't.
what are some of the big hits before he died?
Bad Leroy Brown.
There you go. That was his
Superman.
big-
You know, he's the baddest man in the whole damn town.
He's actually
Superman.
good live. If you see him doing that stuff live, he's great.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Also, for
Getting your DeLorean.
everybody in New York, Chris Cornell's doing Afternoon Drive on this fine radio station.
Yes.
92.3 K-Rock from 3 to 7 today. So, Chris Cornell, always a pleasure.
Thank you.
It's Carry On, his latest CD. Check it out. It's Opie and Anthony.
Robin.